So Jaap, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we walk into the future, can you tell us a little bit about your own background? Where did you grow up?
Yes, thank you very much. Like they say, local is lekker. So for me, it's an absolute privilege and a pleasure to be raised in this beautiful country of ours, South Africa. But maybe more specifically, I was born in Bellville, then I moved to Paul, then Stellenbosch, and then now back to Paul. And this is in the winelands, arguably the most beautiful part of South Africa, and definitely the best wines you'll find in South Africa. That's maybe the reason why I love wine so much.
Right. And tell us, Jaap, what was your dream career when you grew up?
Yes, I can't say that when I was growing up, I spent too much time thinking about my dream career. What is this dream career? At the time, producing sparkling academic results wasn't necessarily my focus. And despite the fact that I qualified for free university, my father was a prof at the University of Stellenbosch. It wasn't, for me, it was free to go to the university, but it didn't really look like I was headed that way. In fact, if I look back at my reports, my primary school reports, many of my teachers wrote that despite the fact that I was performing below the class average, I was performing above their expectations. Yeah. Thinking back now, though, I can remember wanting to be a PE teacher. I was absolutely sports mad. Just give me a ball or a bat and I will play the whole day with that. And, I can't think of doing anything better than to play sports and to teach somebody else sports. So maybe my dream career back then was being a PE teacher.
Right. And tell us, Jaap, who inspired you in your early days?
Well, I don't think it's possible to pinpoint one moment or one thing that I drew my inspiration from. I think one's inspiration comes from many, many different ways and many, many different places in one's life, often in ways that you're not even aware of. Let me give you an example of this. I got inspiration, would you believe it, from years, over the years, from a bookmark given to me by my primary school music teacher. Her name was Juffrou Bell, or Mrs. Bell. And on this bookmark, it's given me a small note when I left primary school. She said to me, do you know that you're beautiful, you're healthy, you've got a strong character. I'm going to watch your future with great interest, as I know you are capable of great things. And this was my bookmark in my Bible over 30 years. And every time I opened my Bible, I saw the bookmark and I got inspiration from this little note from my music teacher from primary school, Mrs. Bell.
And Jaap, today you are the CEO of PEP, probably the largest retailer in Africa. Looking back over your career, can you maybe share a couple of highlights?
Yeah, maybe looking at some of the turning point in my career. When I started as a CA, I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I knew I'm not going to end up as a CA. Not that I had a specific set of plans because of what I would like to be, but I just knew that I'm not going to end up as a CA. But it's easy to get into your comfort zone. Before I knew it, I was appointed 2005 as a finance director in PEP. Before I knew it, 10 years, I was 10 years in the job. At that time, I was 45 years old, and I was asked by our CEO of Pepkor, the group company, where to from here, Jaap? And that question really shook me out of my comfort zone. And I said to my coach, still my coach today, Mel, I want to be the MD of PEP. I made it a conscious, goal, target, and Mel wrote it down. This is my next goal. And I started to watch our current MD with a new set of lenses, the way he presented, the way he asked strategic questions to the team, the way he saw the bigger picture and the smaller picture, the way he managed conflict and inspired people, handled crises, dealt with people from every walk of life. Now, after several weeks of watching him, I realized, this takes a lot to lead a big organization like this. I remember thinking, no way, this is not for me. I would not be able to do this. And a month later, I was moved into a new position. I was the financial director back then. I was moved into the commercial director. The finance director is you in charge of the governance, the control, the structure of the business, the compliance, and sort of sticking to the rules. Moving into commercial meant that this is the creative space within our business. To a certain extent, it's expected of you to break some of the rules. So I think that was my turning point. That was the point when I was moving from managing the numbers to managing the people. I think that was the turning point in my career.
And Jaap, tell us, what is driving you today?
And I think my desire to give and to serve others. PEP is a purpose-driven business, and it's given purpose to my life. PEP's purpose has been unchanged from the very, very beginning. We opened our first store in 1965 in the R. And that is really to enable all South Africans who live on a very, very small budget to look good and to feel good. Now, every single business decision we make in our company is driven by this purpose. Our customers are truly at the center of our business. And that's also my purpose, to make that difference, and to make a difference in the lives of people. Closer to home, I enjoy being involved in the community, maybe the church, maybe the school governing body, or of course, just driven to serve my family. For me, every interaction with every human being is a chance to give. And giving can be as small as a smile or just a thank you, just a compliment. It doesn't really have to cost you anything. We often think it must be these big, great moments are the ones that leaves an impact and will make a huge difference to the world. But it's really what you do every single day. It's about how you use your life to be a light to somebody else's, no matter how small that light is. And that's the way I'm driven, to desire to give and to serve others.
Thank you. And Jaap, looking into the future, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
Yes, I think leaders for the future will have to be able to operate in a much more volatile and much more uncertain times. You need to have the ability to be agile and to adapt on a regular basis, which will become your core skills. I also think good leaders will be those that can manage without a title, with good cross-functional skills. The ability to function in a matrix structures and organizations will become key, because the dots that need to be connected is no longer any more linear. So I think those kind of things are very important for the future of our leadership.
And Jaap, what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
I think along the way, I've been with PEP now for 20 years and with Ackermans for 3 years. And before that, I was doing my articles with PwC, many, many lessons learned. Maybe let me share with you 5 of those lessons. When I started at Ackermans many moons ago, I've learned that you have to lead without a title. You know, I was a youngster, much more experienced, people reporting to me, and I couldn't use my title. I couldn't lead through my title. I have to lead through consistency and behavior. I have to treat people fairly, with respect, be honest and open, be on time. A simple thing as being on time. Admit you've made mistakes. So it's how you lead, not about your title. That was the first lesson. The second lesson when I joined PEP was it was all about hard work. You know about that book from Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, when it talked about the 10,000 hours to really be successful. I've learned it the hard way there. You know, overnight success takes 20 years. The road to success is through hard work. There's no other way. And that time and that investment is probably the best investment you can make in your own career. So the second lesson is to be successful, you have to go through hard work. The third one was never to give up. You know, understand that failure is part of the journey to success. Interesting, in my journey, I haven't been successful in one job interview yet, but I've also never given up. So just understand that, you know, failure is part of the journey, but you shouldn't give up. The fourth lesson is get out of your comfort zone. There's so much more to learn outside of your comfort zone. Now, for me, moving from finance into the commercial space, you know, business about 5 years ago, that was stepping outside of my comfort zone. I've learned so much in those 10 months that I've been a commercial director. And but you have to say yes. You have to look for those opportunities. You have to look for ways of stepping outside of your comfort zone, and then you will receive the rewards of spending some time there and getting some new learnings. That's the fourth lesson. The fifth is to be successful as a leader, you have to believe in yourself, but you also have to know yourself. In PEP, we always talk about you never walk alone. When I was appointed, people wanted me to be successful. The staff, we call ourselves the dynamos, gave me so much support. it was almost impossible to fail. But to be successful, you have to believe and you have to know yourself. To start with knowing yourself, it's very important to be acutely aware of your growth areas and seek expert help when needed. It's not expected of you to know all of the answers. So ask people to help you. That's the one. But you need to know yourself in terms of to know where to get some expert help in. The second one is believing in yourself. You have to lead with conviction. You need to believe in your vision, your direction, and your ideas, despite the naysayers, despite the obstacles. You have to go for it. So those, maybe just to summarize that again, lead with that title. Firstly, hard work is needed, not to give up. Get out of your comfort zone and believe in yourself and know yourself. Those are the lessons I've learned.
Thank you. And Jaap, when you speak to aspiring leaders, what is it you tell them about social media? How should they navigate social media to build their own leadership brand?
Yes, yeah. Social media is a hugely powerful tool, but like many things powerful, it can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy for your personal brand. You need to ensure that it works for you and not against you. So you have to ask the question: how do you use it to enhance you rather than distract you from your personal brand? My advice is have a media plan. Which media to use, how often to use it, what content to use. Those are the key questions that you have to ask yourself to put together a media plan. And if you find it overwhelming, seek some expert guidance. Things also go wrong on social media, and you have to be able to respond to a negative comment or be prepared to deal with difficult situations.
And Jaap, what is your advice for future leaders? How should they handle challenges? In fact, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges future leaders should expect to encounter in their career?
Yes, I think for me, just to highlight maybe two challenges, the biggest challenge is to find the right balance between your different stakeholders. The stakeholders who wants the results, growth of the company and bonuses and increases is that section of the stakeholders. Then there's the other one looking at what is running your business, what is good for the planet and doing meaningful work within your society. So in short, how do you marry the people and planet versus the profit? That's the finding the right balance. I would say it's a big challenge. The second one is, as leaders, you're going to face an increasing number of curveballs on a global level, but also in your country. And that's going to change the way you do business. Of course, this most recent curveball we've all been through and in the middle of it is COVID, the pandemic. But certainly before that, in South Africa, we've seen day zero. We've been hit by load shedding protests. So these are all curveballs that will force you to change the way you do business. I think, finding that right balance and changing your way you do business as the result of these number of curveballs coming away are big challenges that leaders have to face in the future.
And Jaap, if you had to put together a curriculum for future leaders, what are some of the new skills you would want to factor in?
Yes, for me, I've been guided through the uncertain times of the last year by 7 principles of leading in uncertain times. And there's some key skills that I think is required in uncertain times that I'd like to share. I'd like to share 4 of them with you. The first one is communication. You have to be consistent, you have to be frequent, and you have to simplify your message. Now, consistency in our business is about talking about always how does it have the impact on our staff, what was the impact on the customers, and focusing on growth opportunities and always looking back at what does it mean for the numbers. So being consistent in your way you communicate. Secondly, frequency. And this is basically as often as possible. When we hit the crisis a year ago, we were communicating on a daily basis. So as often as possible, you have to communicate, but make it as simple as possible to make sure that everybody in the organization understands it. So that's the first skill I think is necessary for leadership. The second one is stay visible and stay engaged. You have to be very, very close to your business and to your staff. Now, for me, just maybe a nice example, I'm talking about before the crisis when we were all still in the office, I would have Friday lunches with staff members randomly. randomly selected. And for me, that was so nice just to stay in touch with what is happening in the business and stay visible and being engaged. With the COVID coming our way, for me to stay visible and engaged, it meant that we had to use technology, the Zoom, Hangouts, or whatever platform, but it actually made it easier to be visible to the whole company. Think a big organization like ours, we've got 2,500 stores. Staying with all of our store managers and the store staff is difficult, but now with technology, it's a lot easier. So we started with daily communications because there were so many questions. Will I have a job? Will I get paid? Will we open our stores again for trading? So it was important to have that daily communication and to be visible and engaged. A year later, we do have communication every Friday via video or written communication monthly with our senior leaders. I do have a talk with our senior leaders every month, keeping them informed in terms of what is happening in our business. And they've also got that responsibility to communicate that back to the rest of the business. We've got monthly sessions with our 700 employees at our central office. And then we've got also monthly, we've got our in-house radio station where we communicate to our staff in the store. So this is all to stay visible and being engaged. So that's the second point in terms of skills. The first one was communication. The second one was staying visible. The third one, celebrate small wins. People need hope. They need to know that's what's going right. And there's so many examples of things going right in your business that you have to create that spaces where you can celebrate it and give people recognition. And the last one for me, it's easier said than done, but it's to stay positive despite all of the challenges. Very important to stay positive and to focus on those opportunities. So for me, those were leadership principles in uncertain times, the skills that you require. But maybe just want to add, especially these days, it's to stay on top of changing technology. You don't need to be the expert, but you need to be aware of the changes. You also need to be aware what it can do for your business, and you need to remain very open-minded. So in terms of stay on top of changing technology is also important as a skill for leadership for the future.
Thank you, Jaap. And as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
Yes, maybe let me start with saying as a mentor to future leaders, it's very important for all of us to tell your story. Everybody's got a story to tell. There's so many lessons to learn, to be learned from a story, somebody's life story. But you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to share the ups and the downs of your journey. Now, success stories of one of my mentees, for me, it's difficult to claim the success. So many factors playing a role in somebody's success. But I must say it's extremely rewarding to see and to experience success of a mentee. In summary, you've given the chance, you've given a promotion, you've given some advice. The people are unbelievable. What they can achieve. If you just believe in them, support them, and help them grow with confidence, the results are magical. For me personally, I'm also involved as a mentor within our group, across the group in different companies. And there again, extremely rewarding to see how people grow and perform to their full potential. I think that is the role and a responsibility as a leader to give some advice, to give back to the future leaders in terms of what you've learned over your journey.
And Jaap, looking back over your own leadership journey and maybe your learning journey, who are some of the role models of leadership that you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
Yeah, when one thinks about leadership role models, we often jump immediately to these global greats, but my real leadership role models are people that were very close to me. The three PEP MDs who were my leaders before I became the MD all influenced me greatly. I'm still in touch with them. I've got contact with them. I've got check-in sessions with them, and I've learned different things from each one of them and admire them for different reasons. But then there's also people that you learn a lot from that don't necessarily carry the leadership title. An example of that is a guy in Paul called Nicholas. Now, he's a car wash guy. He's got his own bicycle mobile unit. There's some valuable lessons that I can learn from him is hard work. You see him every day in the streets, honesty. He's proud, wants to work for his money, always friendly despite his circumstances, and he doesn't give up. So you get those your role models, the ones with the title, but also the ones without the title. But for me, those are the ones that is closest to me, that I can stay in touch with, and that help me along the way.
And Jaap, how can our listeners connect with you, and where should they follow you?
I think these days with social media, it's easy to connect. Probably the easiest way to connect with me personally is on LinkedIn, or to follow what is happening in our business, on our website, on Facebook or Instagram. So I think there are many ways to connect, many ways to follow what is happening in our world through social media.
And last but not least, Jaap, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future leaders that they should implement in their own life?
For me, it's all about staying healthy, staying physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy, because you can only give as much at your level as your health enables you to give. Physically, really, I see so many leaders sacrifice sleep and exercise for their work. You also have to watch out what you eat and what you drink. So being physically healthy is so important. Secondly, emotionally, to be healthy, watch your stress levels. Stay in control of your thoughts and your reaction. And give gratitude and stay positive. So second point, it's extremely important to stay emotionally healthy. Lastly, spiritually healthy. It means different things for different people, but doing something for somebody. To give back to your broader community, to give back to get involved in your church, get involved in your school or sporting area. I think great leaders share their skills and time in a context much wider than their workplace. This is the most fulfilling part of the leadership, and often an area where we can learn also so much, to get involved in other areas than your workplace.
Well, Jaap, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership, and reminding us that health, emotional health, physical health, and spiritual health are key ingredients to leadership today.
Thank you very much.